What if the very increase you are praying for is not being withheld, but collapsing, because your inner world cannot yet carry its weight? What if heaven is not testing your faith, but your capacity? Stay with this message, because by the end you may realize that the delay you resent is actually the mercy that's protecting you. Many people cry out for more influence, more money, more favor, more responsibility, yet they never ask the most dangerous question: what will this increase do to me? We assume increase is always proof of blessing, but history proves something else. Increase does not destroy people. Lack of capacity does. You can receive what you are not built to sustain, and when that happens, the blessing becomes a burden, the opportunity becomes pressure, and the door you beg to open becomes the exit you fall through. There are promotions that break marriages, platforms that collapse character, finances that expose insecurity, and success that amplifies what was never healed. This is why some prayers are delayed, not denied. This is why some doors open briefly and then shut violently, not because the increase was wrong, but because the inner structure was weak. If you stay with this message, you will understand why growth without capacity always ends in loss, why speed without preparation produces ruin, and why heaven is more committed to who you are becoming than what you are receiving. This message is not about motivation, it is about survival. Because the greatest danger is not that you won't increase, it is that you will. Increase does not arrive to empower first, it arrives to expose. Long before it blesses your hands, it confronts your inner world. Many people assume that when elevation comes, strength automatically follows, but the opposite is often true. Increase turns up the volume on everything that already exists inside you. Whatever was disciplined becomes more visible, and whatever was neglected becomes undeniable. This is why people often say someone changed after success, when in reality nothing new appeared. What surfaced was what had been hidden beneath limitation and pressure. When capacity is small, increase does not stretch you in a healthy way, it fractures you. Pressure reveals the weak joints in the structure. At lower levels, flaws can hide because the weight is light. In private seasons, immaturity can disguise itself as passion, insecurity can hide behind humility, and pride can sit quietly under the appearance of confidence. But increase applies weight. It demands strength from places that were never trained to carry responsibility. What once seemed harmless becomes destructive when amplified by visibility, resources, or authority. This is why promotion without preparation becomes a form of exposure rather than reward. People collapse not because the assignment was too heavy, but because the internal framework was too thin. The mind was never trained for complexity, the emotions were never disciplined for pressure, and the character was never fortified for visibility. Increase does not negotiate with your inner state. It simply reveals it. The higher you go, the more honest your life becomes. There is no hiding when the light intensifies. Many people pray for open doors, unaware that doors are also mirrors. When the door opens, it reflects who you really are. If patience was missing, pressure will expose it. If integrity was conditional, opportunity will test it. If humility was borrowed, recognition will strip it away. This is why some people lose themselves at the very moment they find success. They were never prepared to meet themselves at that level. Exposure is not cruelty, it is truth. Increase tells you where the work was skipped. It points to the areas where growth was assumed instead of developed. You can manage a small space with minimal discipline, but large spaces require structure. What was optional becomes essential. What was flexible becomes rigid. What was tolerated becomes dangerous. Increase does not adjust to your weaknesses, it magnifies them. This is why some people self-sabotage after elevation, not because they are ungrateful, but because exposure creates panic. When flaws surface, fear responds by reaching for control, distraction, or escape. Instead of strengthening capacity, people numb themselves. Instead of addressing the exposure, they resent the increase. But the increase is not the enemy. It is the revealer. Those who understand this law stop asking why pressure increased and start asking what it is uncovering. They realize that exposure is an invitation, not a sentence. It is a signal that growth is required at a deeper level. The wise do not rush to blame circumstances when weight increases. They reinforce the structure. True maturity is the ability to receive exposure without defensiveness. It is the willingness to let increase confront you before it carries you. Those who survive elevation are not those without flaws, but those who respond to exposure with discipline, humility, and intentional growth. They understand that being revealed is the first stage of being refined. Increase always exposes before it empowers, because empowerment without truth is dangerous. If the inner life is not strengthened, the outer life will eventually collapse under its own weight. Capacity must grow at the same pace as opportunity, or exposure will turn elevation into erosion. Capacity is not something that is built by acquiring. It is built by becoming more. Many people chase increase as if it will somehow shape them into the person capable of holding it, but reality operates in reverse. The universe, divine providence, or life itself, the principle is the same. Internal preparation must precede external provision. External growth without inner reinforcement is a fragile construction, and the moment pressure comes, cracks appear where strength was never cultivated. You can have a bigger title, a larger platform, a fatter bank account, or more recognition, but without the internal structure to sustain it, everything is unstable. Capacity is made up of many invisible elements. Emotional stability is essential because increase brings more relationships, more expectations, and more reactions from people. Without the ability to regulate emotions, the pressures of advancement become unbearable. Spiritual maturity matters because the more you receive, the more your values are tested. Mental discipline is required because opportunities often demand focus and decision-making that exceed what you have previously faced. Character depth is necessary because visibility magnifies every flaw, and without integrity, influence becomes a weapon against yourself. These qualities cannot be bought. They must be grown intentionally, often in seasons that feel slow, quiet, or uncomfortable. Many people assume that opportunity itself will teach them capacity, but this is a dangerous assumption. The learning that comes through exposure without preparation is often painful. If the internal vessel is too small, the increase does not educate, it overwhelms. The test of whether you can manage more is not in the moment of opportunity, but in the depth of who you have already become. That is why some people rise quickly only to fall just as fast. They mistook external success for inner readiness. Capacity also requires intentionality. It is not an automatic byproduct of experience. It grows when you consistently exercise restraint, when you choose to respond rather than react, and when you prioritize long-term stability over immediate gratification. It is developed when you confront fear, humility, and temptation in the private spaces of life. Every act of self-discipline, every moment of patience, every decision to choose integrity over convenience adds layers to your internal framework. Without this work, increase is like putting water into a cracked vessel. It will not last, and it may even destroy what was already built. The external signs of progress can be misleading. A title, a following, or a position might make the world believe you are prepared, but capacity is invisible to the outside observer. It is measured not by how much you receive, but by how much you can handle without compromise. Those who appear to thrive under pressure often do so not because they are lucky, but because they have done the slow, unseen work to build resilience, wisdom, and stability. Building capacity is also about learning to steward what you already have. The same principle applies to money, influence, knowledge, or relationships. If what is currently in your hands overwhelms you, adding more will only amplify the problem. True growth begins with mastering the present, not chasing what is next. Capacity is earned through responsibility, through handling small increases with excellence before being entrusted with greater ones. The irony is that people often pursue external growth in the hope that it will shape them internally, but the process of becoming capable precedes the blessing. This law operates in every area of life. A business will fail if the owner lacks management skills. A leadership position will collapse if the leader cannot inspire and contain people. A relationship will crumb if the heart is not mature enough to sustain love. Capacity dictates the longevity and stability of everything you are entrusted with. The journey toward building inner capacity requires patience, intentionality, and self-awareness. It asks difficult questions. Can I handle this responsibly? Am I strong enough to endure without compromise? Do I have the character to steward what I desire? These questions are uncomfortable but necessary, because without honest answers, external increase becomes a liability rather than an asset. Those who succeed are those who understand that what they are becoming matters more than what they are receiving, and that the invisible work of growth always precedes visible achievement. Speed is often mistaken for progress, but rapid growth without the corresponding development of capacity is one of the most dangerous patterns in life. Many people are eager to move quickly, to seize opportunities, to climb ladders, or to scale their platforms, assuming that speed will guarantee success. What they fail to recognize is that speed amplifies every weakness, every flaw, every unresolved issue, and every gap in preparedness. When increase arrives faster than your capacity, it does not elevate you, it overwhelms you. The law of sustainable growth is simple. Internal development must pace external expansion, or the structure will collapse under the weight of its own ambition. Opportunities do not pause for preparation, but preparation always precedes true sustainability. People who rush into roles, investments, or responsibilities without first developing the necessary skills, character, and emotional maturity often discover the hard way that being first does not equate to being ready. Speed without capacity creates vulnerability. It creates blind spots. It exposes gaps that had been invisible at slower paces, and suddenly what appeared to be a breakthrough becomes a breakdown. The faster the increase comes, the greater the demand on your internal systems. If the systems are underdeveloped, the pressure is not just difficult, it is destructive. Many are seduced by the illusion of acceleration because society rewards visible success. Promotions, accolades, recognition, and wealth are often interpreted as signs of blessing or favor. Be you. They are not guarantees of readiness. In fact, rapid advancement often tests the very qualities that slower growth would allow time to strengthen. Patience, endurance, humility, discipline, and resilience are cultivated over time in seasons that feel unremarkable or slow. When these qualities are bypassed in the pursuit of speed, the outer gains expose the inner deficiencies. The result is often instability, burnout, or the erosion of the very things that were supposed to last. The danger of speed is not limited to professional life. It affects relationships, finances, spiritual growth, and personal development. A quick accumulation of wealth without financial literacy can lead to mismanagement and loss. A rapid rise in influence without emotional intelligence can damage relationships and reputation. A swift expansion of responsibilities without spiritual maturity can lead to compromise and inner conflict. Speed magnifies inadequacy, and the consequences of being unprepared are amplified when the pace accelerates beyond your capacity to manage. One of the critical insights about speed is that it does not forgive shortcuts. You cannot bypass the work of internal preparation without paying a price later. Life has a way of enforcing balance. Opportunities may arrive quickly, but if you are not ready, they will test you in ways that make the gain feel like a burden. What is often mistaken for failure is not the absence of blessing, but the absence of readiness. The fastest path is not always the safest path, and speed without preparation often accelerates exposure before empowerment. Patience is not a passive delay, it is a form of active preparation. It is the discipline to strengthen character, deepen understanding, and develop resilience before taking on more than you can sustain. Those who cultivate patience learn to align their capacity with their opportunities. They understand that timing is critical. Doors open not when you are eager, but when you are equipped. Delays, setbacks, and seasons of waiting are not punishments. They are reinforcement periods designed to expand your capacity so that when increase arrives, it is sustainable and secure. Sustainable success is rarely accidental. Those who endure, those who manage pressure well, and those who thrive under advancement have learned the principle that speed must never outrun maturity. Growth that is too fast for the vessel of your life creates cracks that only time, discipline, and intentional capacity building can repair. The law is clear. If you want increase to be permanent and productive, you must ensure that your internal growth matches, if not exceeds, the pace of external progress. Speed without capacity is a dangerous illusion, and without alignment, acceleration can become a path to collapse. What you cannot manage will eventually manage you. This principle is one of the most profound yet overlooked truths about life, growth, and increase. Many people desire more responsibility, more resources, more influence, without considering whether they are capable of holding it. They assume that external blessings will somehow create internal readiness, but the reality is the opposite. If your capacity is insufficient, whatever you receive will not serve you, it will control you. Wealth controls emotions, authority controls decisions, influence controls identity, and every increase that exceeds your preparedness becomes a master rather than a tool. When you lack the internal framework to sustain what you are given, the blessing becomes a burden. Money can become a source of anxiety instead of freedom. Recognition can become a source of pride instead of purpose. Power can become manipulation instead of stewardship. Those who do not manage well are eventually consumed. Be what they thought would empower them. The external circumstance is not the enemy. It is simply reflecting what has been left unresolved internally. The inability to manage what is given reveals that preparation is more critical than opportunity. Management is not just about controlling resources, it is about self-mastery. It is about the ability to govern your responses, make wise decisions, and maintain integrity under pressure. External increase without internal discipline is like handing the keys of a luxury car to someone who has never driven. The vehicle becomes dangerous to the driver and everyone around them. The principle applies to every aspect of life. Leadership without emotional intelligence leads to conflict. Wealth without stewardship leads to loss. Influence without humility leads to regret. Capacity is the precondition for holding, sustaining, and multiplying what is received. Many people fail because they assume that blessings will change them. But the truth is that blessings are amplifiers. They intensify what already exists. If insecurity exists, increase will magnify it. If greed exists, resources will tempt and dominate. If immaturity exists, responsibility will overwhelm. The external world does not fix internal deficiencies, it exposes them. This is why some people lose control the moment they rise. The position did not corrupt them, it revealed them. Management begins with the inner life, and without self-governance, external advantage quickly turns into external enslavement. The law of management also applies to timing. Receiving too much too soon can be dangerous if capacity has not been developed. Opportunities often test whether you can steward what is given before granting more. This principle is not about punishment, it is about protection. Increase that arrives without preparation will demand more than you are able to deliver. It will demand emotional resilience, strategic thinking, and ethical fortitude. And if these are not in place, the situation becomes unsustainable. Life enforces this law relentlessly. What you cannot hold will ultimately hold you hostage. One of the critical insights of this law is the distinction between quantity and quality. Success is often measured by what you have, but sustainability is determined by what you can manage. Two people may receive identical blessings, yet one thrives while the other collapses. The difference is not external, it is internal. Capacity defines not only how much you can receive, but how effectively you can wield it, how responsibly you can sustain it, and how wisely you can multiply it. Without this, increase becomes a source of anxiety, tension, and eventual loss. Learning to manage begins with awareness and discipline. It requires honest evaluation of strengths and weaknesses, the willingness to set boundaries, and the patience to grow before accumulating more. It also requires stewardship, taking responsibility for every resource, influence, and opportunity currently in your hands. Mastery over the existing establishes the foundation for future increase. Those who excel in life do not pursue more blindly. They cultivate the ability to govern what they already possess. They understand that the external blessings they seek will only serve them when they first serve themselves. Management is not optional. It is the hidden law behind every enduring success. Heaven protects you from what you are not ready to hold. Often people interpret delays, closed doors, or denied opportunities as rejection or failure, but these moments are often acts of mercy. If what you are asking for or expecting arrives before you are equipped to manage it, it can crush you rather than crown you. Timing is not random. It is designed to align your capacity with the in-car. Ease. Just because something has not come yet does not mean it will never come. It means that more preparation is required. The protection is not always visible, but its impact is life-changing, safeguarding you from loss, chaos, or compromise. Many people do not understand that blessings, opportunities, and elevation are conditional upon readiness. Readiness is not measured by desire or ambition. It is measured by maturity, resilience, and integrity. Without these qualities, what appears as advancement can become a trap. A promotion without the ability to lead effectively may result in failure or scandal. Wealth without wisdom can lead to debt, dependency, or disputes. Influence without discernment can destroy relationships and reputation. The delay you perceive as unfair may actually be the shield preventing disaster, because the universe, divine providence, or life's law will not entrust what you cannot sustain. The principle of protection is closely tied to the idea of alignment. Increase must meet capacity, and timing ensures that alignment occurs. What arrives too early bypasses preparation and invites collapse. Many people mistake their own impatience for divine delay. not realizing that early provision often brings more harm than good. A door may remain closed because your inner life is not yet strong enough to sustain what is on the other side. This is not denial, it is design. Protection is about stewardship, about ensuring that the vessel is ready before the blessing is poured in. This law also explains why some people receive opportunities in stages rather than all at once. Incremental increase allows for adjustment, learning, and adaptation. Each stage is a test of stewardship, character, and maturity. When you handle a small blessing well, you're often rewarded with more. When you fail at one level, it is an indication that preparation is still needed. Protection is relational, responding to your readiness rather than your desires. It ensures that what comes into your life is sustainable, beneficial, and safe, and that it will not overwhelm the structures that are not yet fortified. Another aspect of protection is the prevention of unnecessary exposure. When increase arrives too soon, it can expose weaknesses that are still raw, magnifying their impact in creating consequences that could have been avoided. Protection ensures that the pressure is applied gradually, allowing time for the development of resilience, wisdom, and skill. Opportunities are tests of readiness, and what seems like a delay is often a period of preparation for the responsibilities and pressures that accompany the blessing. Without this, growth is unsustainable, and success can become a liability rather than a gift. Protection also emphasizes the principle of timing over speed. Many people rush toward opportunity, fearing that delay will result in loss, but what they fail to see is that readiness dictates arrival. Opportunities that arrive at the right time are often accompanied by the resources, support, and clarity necessary to manage them effectively. What is withheld temporarily is often preserved for a season when you are capable of stewarding it fully. Protection is designed to prevent collapse, loss, and regret, ensuring that when blessings arrive, they do so in a manner that can be held, nurtured, and multiplied. Understanding this principle requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing delay as denial, view it as an act of preparation and protection. Instead of resenting seasons of waiting, recognize them as periods of growth, refinement, and readiness. The universe does not rush provision into unprepared hands, because increase in the wrong season can destroy more than it delivers. Protection is the unseen law that ensures sustainability, preserves potential, and aligns blessings with capacity. Those who grasp this principle learn patience, intentional growth, and the wisdom to steward what is already in their hands while waiting for what is yet to come. Capacity is the hidden currency of longevity. Many people focus on visible measures of success, titles, wealth, influence, recognition, but these are fleeting if the internal capacity to sustain them is absent. True endurance, whether in career, relationships, spiritual growth, or personal achievement, is not dictated by opportunity alone. It is dictated by the ability to hold, manage, and multiply what you receive. Those who last are not necessarily the most talented, the most gifted, or even the luckiest. They are the ones who have invested in building the internal structures necessary to carry long-term increase. Without this, even the greatest blessing can become a liability. The reason capacity determines longevity is simple. External gain magnifies internal reality. What is small inside becomes overwhelming outside. People may manage small resources with relative ease, but as the scale grows, so does the complexity. Emotional